Hey Milky, you finally made it to the server. You were trying to beat Mathias, right? Drove right into his trap. Same as us and Constantine over there. Damn that Haarvig. The Academy series was fine before he came along. So many drivers were winning races. But now, only Mathias wins races. You there. You shouldn't be here. Just join Formula Sprint. We are all drivers in Mathias's clutches now, Constantine. Assalamu'Alaikum, good afternoon everyone, and welcome back to the GPVWC Academy Series. It's round 6 of the season at Portimao in Portugal. For those people who don't know, it used to be called Estoril, or as it is currently now called Circuit of the Algarve, I think. But either way, let's take you through a hot lap. So currently we're sitting somewhere terrible. We're sitting in P6. My fast time on the practice server was, I think, a 38.2 or 38.1. I might have even got into the 37s, but I just couldn't find the pace in this qualifying session. Loads of consistent mistakes. But this final lap was at least an improvement on my previous best time. So turn 1, you want to brake about 80 meters. Try to get as close to the curb on the power. We've already gained about 1/10 of a second as we make our way down into turn 3. Second gear, we get it relatively close to the apex. There was more time to be found. Open up this corner as much as possible as we get on the power, but we just dropped time, and yeah, it was unfortunate really. On the brakes fairly late down into this hairpin. Just try to get it onto the apex and on the power as early as possible, and we gain a fair bit of time on corner exit. You can see that we're only 2.5 tenths down on Marie Schaaf in P3, so this so far is fairly good. Through the double right-hander, get it down into third gear, try to get on the power as early as possible, but back end steps out on us, and I think we drop at least 1/10 if not more. So again, that was another shame. Now into the second of the double right-handers. I mean, this is just one really long right-hander. We get it turned in well, we get it on the power. Again, we've dropped a little bit of time, and it's not been a great lap, but we take it either way. Through this left-hander, it's okay, and then this is where I mess it up, and I just understeer, and I lose all the time, and then on corner exit, I'm not gaining time, so the lap's over, and I have a turn in frustration. But that's qualifying, and well, we move on, right? You know, that's racing, and part of racing is sometimes things happen to you. That's not your fault. Sometimes you mess up, and you need to be able to recover. You need to be able to refresh your mindset, and that's exactly what we try to do heading into the race. So we're starting in P6. We're behind the likes of our friends Willie Gibson, Ben Constantine as well. So I know that I'm quicker than the pair of them, or at least I am usually. I want to get a P2 as long as it's only Mathias or Mathias who is ahead of me. I'm happy. So let's try to get a good start and clamber our way up the order. So we've got the lights on the middle of the screen, middle to the left, and we just mix up final brake bias adjustments. 58, which I later realized is too far forward, and I was locking up a lot, but cool in hindsight. Either way, lights go out and we are underway. Willie Gibson got a terrible start, and you can actually see him in our wing mirror dropping down the order. So we've already gained 1 place. I'm having a little think about the inside down into turn 1, but I back out of it. I don't want to cause an accident, especially with effectively a teammate of mine. So we hold station, we hold on to P5 for now. And yeah, now we just need to try to get onto the back of Ben up ahead. He's at the moment keeping up with the 3 at the front of the field as Mathias goes defensive to Mr. Tom, and we take a very early apex into that hairpin just to make sure that we don't get dived or dove into the hairpin by Kanani. So far it's an okay start, nothing special. We are actually shifting the brake bias forward a bit, which, as I mentioned before, I later realized was just a complete mistake, and there was no need to do that. And I found out that my fronts were locking a lot, and later in the race, about halfway through, I ended up adjusting my brake bias, and I shifted it to 58, or I think I put it to 57.5 instead of 58, and as a result my braking was so much smoother, and I ended up gaining a ton of time. So yeah, big learning curve for me there in terms of the brakes, bias and where to position it, because beforehand I wasn't really noticing that a lot of lockup. I think maybe having it where it is faster for like a single hot lap, but definitely not for race pace and managing tyres. But with that, the first lap is coming to a close and we've got a decent run, and Ben was kind of asking that I get close enough to pass him because Ben essentially thought I was quicker than him, so wanted me to go past so that I could kind of drag him up to the guys in front. And we go down the inside into the corner. We end up out-braking ourselves. We go wide. Ordinarily, I might be tempted to let Ben through, but because we were in voice and I know that he wanted to let me through anyway, I decided against it and just held on to the position. But sadly, my pace just wasn't there, and we're cutting to lap 13 of the race, and literally nothing happened. Ben was on my rear end for the first half of the race, and maybe from about lap 8 or so, I started to find pace, and we have a bit of a moment on this final lap. But yeah, I started to find my pace way too late. Once I did, I was kind of keeping the gap to the guys in front a bit better, but yeah, it's live and learn. It wasn't a good race. Probably my worst race so far of the year. I know I did a lot worse in Istanbul, but that was my first race, so I was relatively happy, you know, first race and all of that. And all of the other races since then, I felt like I've had a lot more pace than what I've shown here at Portimao. So yeah, it was a disappointing qualifying session, disappointing opening race. It is what it is. Not really too much more to say about that. This first race was very dull, honestly. You know, I'd include more clips from the race if there was, but there just wasn't anything. A 39.9, 7/10 off the fastest time in the session. So that is how our opening race ended. So heading into the second race of the day, we are starting in P12, and because it's reverse grid, it meant that we were ahead of, well, the likes of Mathias Haarvig, Tom Ely, who are both relatively quick. So this was a good opportunity to try to take a win. I know Portimao was further up the road. Lucas Thylin ahead of him. He's usually fairly quick, and Will Gibson too. So it's about trying to keep things clean on the opening lap as the lights go out and we are underway. It's an okay start, nothing too special. In fact, Tom Ely is actually right alongside us now on the run down into turn 1. You can see I've got the brake bias to 57.5, so I've changed it. Into turn 1, we just get hit from the side by Tom. I think he turned across me. He'll probably think that I dove in too late. And just like that, we are in dead last. So that's unfortunate, as Federico Marino, I have no idea what he's doing. He just went into the back of Mathias like a bit of a lunatic, to be honest. I think he had enough time to react to that. But coming towards the end of lap 1, we're in P14. A few more people had some incidents, and that allowed us to climb up the order a bit further. Now we're on the back of Mathias, searching for a way through, and I think Mathias has a lot of damage from when Federico just ran into the back of him, as we see someone spun around facing the wrong way, and we are up into P12. So we try to get a good run coming through this long right-hander, and Mathias has a moment with the rear trying to find a way through on Jack Parker. This means that we can get a good run on Mathias. We actually have to give a little bit of a lift, but we're trying to tuck into the slipstream as best as we can. We pull out, and I was a bit upset here because Jack Parker ends up giving Mathias the slipstream, which if he had given it to me from the start, it would have made my life a lot easier. But obviously Jack is entitled to do whatever he wants. I turn across Mathias here a bit. That's my mistake, as Jack Parker runs into someone who's spun. I go for the outside, Mathias goes for the inside, and we both get through. And I'm still behind Mr. Haarvig, Mr. Rapid himself in this Academy series. Mathias is incredibly quick. Also, for those of you wondering, I am running the default setup as I have been throughout the entirety of the season. The only change I made was to the gear ratios, and I made it a bit longer, otherwise you just hit the rev limiter. But coming to the end of lap 3, we are once again right on the back of Mathias Haarvig, and we are going to get the job done this time because there is no Jack Parker or Tom Parker to give slipstream. I mean, Ben tries to give him a bit of slipstream, but we get the job done anyway. Into turn 1, and there is a moment up ahead. Everyone crashes, everyone dies, and all of a sudden, look at that, guys, we're in P3. So a stroke of luck. Obviously, you never want to see people crashing around you, but I'll take it. After the incident I had on lap 1, I was really surprised to be in 3rd on lap 4. Coming to lap 5, we pump in a 39.6. You can see that in the middle of the screen. Fast lap of the race, and I just felt so quick. We actually gained about 4 tenths to Tom Ely on that previous lap, so considering our previous race pace, that's great. But then we get hit by the desync, and well, not by a desync, just Tom lag. I don't think there's any desync on my end, so it's the same as what happened in Istanbul with Mark McNaughton, who ironically is now the driver ahead of us. So yeah, it's unfortunate. We got lag in Istanbul, we get lag here, and considering my pace, I genuinely think I could have won this race. I think if it wasn't for that, I think I would have won this race. Obviously, we'll never know, but it's a big shame. And now I thought that I'd have loads of damage on the car, so I just try to get my head down, and I could see Mark in front of me, obviously, and then there is Mathias not too far ahead. So right now, I was hoping for a P2. Maybe if Will Gibson, who was leading the race, had a bad race, I could win, but yeah, the target, the objective at this point was to go for that P2 spot. So let's see if we can do it. As we come through the final couple of corners, we want to tuck in right behind Mr. McNaughton as we come on to the start-finish straight, and we're going to be able to get a fair chunk of slipstream here as well. And you can see on the top of your screen the delta just dropping down as I get that slipstream. That's the effect of slipstream. We've already gained half a tenth, and we're not even halfway down the start-finish straight. So pretty much an entire tenth on the brakes into turn 1. Clip the apex nicely, and a good run through T1, and now it's trying to catch up to Mr. Haarvig. So lap 6 we were on, and now we are on lap 10, coming to the end of lap 10. And I've actually been on the back of Mathias throughout this entire lap. That's why I'm a second down on my PB. We have a look for the outside into the left-hander, but that's never going to work out. So instead we look for the switchback. We're going to look for the switchback again, but Mathias, his rear end apparently was all over the place. His steering wheel wasn't even straight as he was driving, so he was really nursing the car, which is why he's going so much slower through the corners, just to make sure that back end doesn't step out. Coming out of the final corner, we have a look to the outside. Can we get the straight line speed over Mathias? We're pulling up alongside, but are we far up enough to get the move done? It's actually going to be relatively close between the pair of us as we get ready to jump onto the brakes. We leave space on the inside, and Mathias keeps the position. He goes over the curb, almost loses the rear end, but he keeps it all together as we close in under braking into turn 3. So we're going to have to wait a bit longer. I mean, you can see on the strip on the bottom of your screen that P1 is quite far ahead of us. Mathias goes defensive. We go to the outside, we then switch over to the inside. Mathias very reasonably leaves us room. He turns across us a little bit here. I looked at it from his POV and he couldn't see me on the inside. So yeah, all's well that ends well. We're up into P2, and now we can try to, well, just hold on to position. Now we don't have a lot of fuel left. I think we kind of calculated the fuel practically perfectly. On the last lap of the race, half a lap to go, and we are miles behind the race leader. But Willie has a mistake, and at this point I was kind of kicking myself, because I mean, as we come over this crest, what is it? 1, 2, 3. So we're talking about 3 seconds, and that 3 seconds could have been anywhere this race. If I've driven better, I could have been right on his tail now. Maybe I could have got slipstream and beaten him across the line. Who knows? So it's unfortunate, but I was really happy with my pace in this second race. I think I drove really well, and I don't think I caused any trouble. I think in all of the previous reverse grid races, I've gone for like crazy moves here and there, but I think this was a clean drive from me, and I don't think I could have done too much better. So I'm actually really happy with this second race. It's practically a win, considering my pace and everything. We still set the fastest lap of the race, so I'll take it. But sadly, that is this round to a close. A P4 and a P2, not quite as good as what we had in the Highlands last time round. But yeah, we'll take it. I think the next round is in 2 weeks' time, or at the time of recording this, 1.5 weeks' time. and it is in Poland. So it's a new track that I've never raced at before. Myself and Willie, we have a nice little formation finish. But yeah, there we go. Congrats to Willie on picking up his win. The bastard actually got a win before me in GPVWC, which is slightly frustrating, but we'll be back stronger in a couple of weeks' time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and drop me some feedback. If there's anything that you'd like to see in these videos, that would be awesome. And this was my first video back, including, you know, one of my famous Milky intros. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and yeah, let me know if there's something you'd like to see in the future. And until then, toodles.